Good afternoon. I'm George Latimer, Westchester County Executive, and we welcome you to the 2 o'clock daily update for the Westchester coronavirus. We will, in a few minutes, introduce the mayor of Scarsdale, Mark Samwick, who will be talking about the village town of Scarsdale and some of their issues. Every day we're trying to connect you to one part of the county with various mayors and town supervisors, and we're very happy that the Scarsdale mayor is with us today. I'm going to give you the numbers in just a second. What I do want to mention, the governor made an announcement yesterday that his updates are going to end tomorrow. And so I've been asked, what do I shut down the George show? And I'm happy to report that the purpose of these updates is really based on the opening phases of the government and of the society, the economic openings that we have to face, as well as what's the status of our COVID infection. So as our infections continue to drop, we've determined that when we reach the end of phase 3, which will come 2 weeks from this Tuesday, that will be our last update. Our last update will be Monday, July the 6th. It'll be after the 4th of July weekend. We'll see what happens on that weekend. And, of course, you know, we're all trying to manage, every one of us are trying to manage the natural demand that we have to be outside, to be together. The weather's getting warmer. We're opening more functions within our communities. And hopefully when we get to the other side of the 4th of July weekend, we're into the heart of the summer, and if the contagion continues to drop, then we won't see the need for these regular updates. We will also be cutting back on our Facebook Live interview programs. We have a couple that are scheduled for next week that we'll complete, and then after that we'll shut that down. And what it'll do is try to get us back to normal. Here in our executive functions in the county government, we have many issues that we have to tackle that range from affordable housing to the county airport and a host of things. And as we deal with COVID, as we deal with the financial issues that come out of COVID, we want to return to normalcy as we have people coming back into the office building. I think every business wants that. Every family wants that. Every individual wants that. As I mentioned before, I'm happy I got a haircut last weekend and happy that I could go to my religious institution over the weekend and feel some reconnection there. So all of these things are important to all of us. So we will complete our daily updates or our weekday updates on Monday, July 6th. And until then, we're going to continue to try to give you what information we can. Our information on the coronavirus situation at this stage of the game is a continuation of what we've been saying really consistently now for the better part of 2 months, which is we continue to see a drop in the overall impact of COVID in Westchester County. We have tested, as of this date, 223,373 people. Again, the simple divisor is there's 1 million people in the county, so 223 plus 1,000 people means 22% of the people of Westchester County have been tested for COVID. Again, that maintains itself as a very large percentage of the total population. What we're seeing that's particularly encouraging for us is the number of positive cases that's come out of that testing. Our number today is 34,409 year-to-date. Year-to-date being, in essence, 3.5 months of period of time. That number is only 24 cases more than yesterday. So consider that we tested almost exactly 4,000 people yesterday, and we only had in the vicinity of 20-some-odd cases out of 4,000. That is a sign that the spread of the infection is lessening. And that isn't just wishful thinking, I have a gut feel of what's happening. Those are the actual statistics that we have from the state. Our fatality numbers are low, but they still exist. We've had a couple of nights where there were no fatalities, and that was very encouraging. But at this stage of the game, we had 3 fatalities last night, overnight. That follows a night of 2 fatalities and then 2 of the prior 3 nights where we had 0 fatalities. So the numbers are still much lower than they were at the peak period of time. But we are losing Westchester residents. And I remind again that we have the Ribbons of Remembrance program at the Lenoir Preserve in Yonkers on North Broadway, just above Executive Boulevard, where we invite anyone who is grieving the loss of a loved one, a friend, a coworker, go there. You're in a beautiful setting, overlooking the Hudson River and the Palisades, and you'll have an opportunity to sign a purple ribbon wrapped around one of the tree branches there as a sign of remembrance for the loved one that we've lost. Even when we reach the point where we lose just one person a night, that's a human being, that's somebody's friend, somebody's relative, and we grieve those losses. As we are in the process, though, of looking at the overall numbers, the number of active cases have dropped again. Yesterday's number, 694, was the first time that we got under the 700 mark. We're down today to 642 active cases, and that's a continuing drop. We're very encouraged by that number. An active case is somebody who tested positive for COVID and has not cleared the 2-week period of the infection doing its worst. And so in theory, if we had no more new cases in the next 2 weeks or so, those 642 people would be cleared of active concern, and then we would have no active cases of COVID, even though 34,000 people have tested positive. I've dealt with numerous people that tested positive at some point in time, in some cases 2-3 months ago. They're perfectly healthy now. They've defeated the disease. The tragedy is that the disease affects everybody differently, and 1,400 people died having interacted with the disease. But at the same time, 33,000 people interacted with the disease and survived. So on one hand, we fight the disease by wearing masks, by sanitizing our hands, by staying out of large crowds where we can, the social distancing, which is awkward, but part of what we have to do. We do all of those things because it's the intelligent thing to do. But at the same time, here in New York, we have seen the peak of the contagion, and now we're coming down almost back to where we were when it started. That is no reason for us to change the behaviors. It's the behaviors, if anything, that has helped us stop the spread. And so we have to maintain the behaviors, which is, having a mask on. Obviously, I take it off to speak. I'll put it back on when I'm completed speaking. Anytime we're in close proximity to other people, we wear the mask. It's not a political statement. It is a statement of trying not to infect somebody else with something that you may have. I see it as just a very practical thing that you do. If your knee was hurting, you'd put a knee brace on. You don't put a knee brace on because you want to. You put it on because your knee is hurting. This will help you stabilize your knee. When it recuperates, you take the knee brace off. You don't wear it again. That would be the plan. And the same thing applies here in terms of mask wearing. We know that there's some people in this society that philosophically don't want to do it. We know that some of our younger neighbors don't necessarily see the need for it, and in the social moment don't practice it. We are not going to be policing this with the mind to punish. We're policing this to get compliance. We want people to do the right thing. That's more important than the ticket we write. It's more important, by all means, than putting somebody in an incarcerated situation. But the numbers are coming down. We're hopeful that this trend will continue. If it does, next Tuesday, the 23rd, we will be opening into Phase 3. Phase 3 opens, as I said yesterday, and probably the day before. Phase 3 opens up some additional things. Most notably for everybody is the ability to have restaurant services indoors as well as outdoors. Many restaurants have had some outdoor presence. When the mayor of Scarsdale comes to the podium, I'm sure he'll address that and what Scarsdale has done to try to encourage that. A number of communities have. We were in Larchmont yesterday, where you saw the mayor of Larchmont Village, Lorraine Walsh, talk about their initiatives. We know Pleasantville, earlier this week, Mayor Shearer talked about closing Wheeler Avenue this Saturday night for the same purpose. I don't want to sell Pleasantville too much. I want to sell Scarsdale today. That's today's purpose. Give you a reason to go to Scarsdale. But the upshot of it is that it's Phase 3 next Tuesday. Restaurants broaden their ability and appeal. A lot of personal care services will open also on Tuesday. If you've been waiting to have a tattoo parlors open, waxing, tanning parlors open, nail salons open. And all of those facilities are things that people use, and they're businesses. They employ people. They have an economic return. They generate sales tax and all those different things. So those things will come back online in Phase 3. And with everything we're doing, we want to make sure that we don't advance the spread. So I have a few more announcements to make, which I will make after we have the opportunity to talk to Mayor Mark Samwick. The mayor is in his first full year of office, or slightly beyond his first full year of office now. Nothing like walking into a new term of office and facing a pandemic and the financial problems that befall all of us now in this society, and a social justice, racial justice issue as well. But the Scarsdale community has been known for very stable municipal government. They have a nonpartisan system of government. They do not run the traditional Republican versus Democratic situations in Scarsdale. There have been competitive elections, but it structures differently than the traditional partisanship. The community is known as one of the best-run communities in Westchester County. It's got a very a wealthy population, very well-educated population, high level of public services. It was Scarsdale that took the lead as a community for food scrap recycling, the energy and the drive that came out of Scarsdale, the famous Ron and Michelle duo that's helped the county move forward in this area. So it is also, because of the community that it is, it's a demanding community. And to step forward to be a trustee, as he was previously, and now mayor of the village, is not an easy thing to do. So I'm very appreciative of his time here today and his partnership over the course of this period of time. The mayor of Scarsdale, Mark Samwick. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you, County Executive, and thank you for those kind words. I don't know if I even have to say anything. I can just say thank you and leave, and we're on our way. And actually, you know what? I'm going to stick on the thank you theme for a little while. What we've been going through the past 3.5 months together as a county and each of our communities individually has been unprecedented. It's been challenging, and the benefit of working with you and your team has been a game changer for us. You've approached this with compassion, intelligence, integrity, and you're always there to help and eager to do so. And so we thank you for that. So now switching on to Scarsdale, we started dealing with the pandemic relatively early, being right next door to the initial hotspot. We reacted very quickly, and we reacted decisively. We looked at what we need to do to continue to deliver essential services to our community, to our village employees, and people all around the village. And so what that means is focusing on how do we deliver those essential services and how do we make sure that those stay in place no matter what happens. And so we quickly developed backup plans. We changed the mode of operating, and we were able to do exactly what we said, which was deliver those things. What we also did is we realized, as the county executive stated, that there is a financial impact to this as well. And so we ran various scenarios as to where we thought the economic impact might come out, and we reserved against those potential shortfalls in revenue primarily. And we did that very quickly. We entered into austerity mode in terms of shutting down spending for non-essential items, things related to health, safety, and welfare. And so with that in hand, we were able to move through and navigate. So now, as we look at reopening, we're following the phases as everybody else, and we are trying to help our merchants and help our residents. And how are we doing that? We're restoring services that we did have to cut temporarily. The county executive mentioned our food scrap recycling program, which we're very proud of. We just got notice today that that's restarting next week, the pickup of food scraps. So we're very excited about that. What we've also done is we focused on how we can enable our merchants to succeed, how we can bring our residents into commercial areas in our community to do a number of things, help support our merchants, and help bring our people together and help resume some semblance of normalcy, or take steps toward that. So what we did is we temporarily rescinded a portion of our code related to sidewalks so that our merchants and restaurants could use outdoor space. We've also closed a portion of a road in our village center, erected a large tent, and that happened yesterday, and it's already being used. As soon as it was put up, it's being used. And so what we are seeing is a reactivation of our village center. And that's what we're all seeking. We're seeking as much of a return to normalcy with responsible behavior as possible. And we're very fortunate in our community, as the county executive stated, to have an educated community that takes these measures seriously. And so here we are with the help of a lot of people and a lot of people at the county level and elsewhere. And we are moving forward in a productive way that we're really proud of. So, County Executive, thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity. Come to Scarsdale. Our restaurants are open. We'd love to have you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you again to Mayor Mark Samwick for being with us today on behalf of Scarsdale. And I already have seats established at Chat's, at Moscato's, at Sapporo. I got it all laid out for myself. Although if you follow these every day, I know the restaurants in every one of these communities, so there's got to be something wrong with that strategy. But we very much appreciate the cooperation, and we salute Scarsdale as we do the other communities of the county. And I think it's important to mention these things. For those of you who may be watching or may see this on tape. We follow national politics in this country very aggressively. It's red versus blue, and all the names are prominent. The statewide officials, certainly the governor, our state's U.S. senators are very prominent people. But what I think most of us don't understand is how many decent and capable people serve in local offices, where none of us, including myself as a county executive, we're not celebrities. We travel in and out of communities without an entourage, and the mayor of villages and the supervisors of towns, council members, county legislators, we don't have the cachet of a United States senator, of the governor of a state, or certainly the president of the United States or a cabinet member. But the work that goes on there is really tremendous, and it extends to land use boards, zoning boards of appeal, planning boards that go late into the night at public meetings looking at site plans, and they're trying very hard to protect what makes each community different. And what makes North Salem is very different from what makes Pelham Manor, or for that matter, Mount Vernon, Peekskill, Sleepy Hollow, Portchester, all of the range of these communities. And I think that oftentimes we do ourselves a disservice because we categorize all of those in public office as politicians, and they're seen as people that practice the art of politics rather than people who serve an elected office who are making decisions on behalf of the communities. And you might be able to make the argument that a county executive is a politician, but you can't make the argument that a member of the Village Board of Trustees in Scarsdale is that. They are citizens who come out from many other community activities. You don't run for the Village Board in Scarsdale unless you've proven your civic commitment over an extended period of time. Every time I've been there, whether to the Scarsdale Forum, the Scarsdale Bowl event, some folks come out of the PTA experience and movement. Very active neighborhood associations in Scarsdale, one of the few communities where you can grid out and, here's Arthur Manor, here's Quaker Ridge, here's Green Acres, and very active, neighborhood community involvements. And I might add, Scarsdale's at the top of the list right now in terms of percentage of response to the census. So we think that all of us should get to know all of these communities a little bit better, as we're trying to do with this particular forum and this opportunity. So again, thank you to the Mayor of Scarsdale, and thank you to those of you who are in Scarsdale for the things that you do to help contribute to this Westchester achievement. So a few more announcements. We'll make it as quick as we can. We do have the announcement that we are opening another element of our county recreation programs. That is our miniature golf courses. We have miniature golf courses at Playland. That will open this Saturday and Sunday. And if you're familiar with each of the different physical locations here, the Playland miniature golf course, and I'll be candid with you, it needs some work. I'm going to be very upfront. It is the source of some future capital improvement. But it is still a fair recreation to have. It's right off of the boardwalk. The beach is open. The boardwalk is open for walking purposes. The Midway and the amusement park itself is not open, but the miniature golf is open. That's beginning Saturday and Sunday, and then it'll be open Wednesday through Sunday, starting on the 26th of June. Saxon Woods Park has a miniature golf course. That one's a little bit different from the Playland one. There's no sort of windmills and big, heads of ducks and things of that nature. The Saxon Woods miniature golf course sits in the White Plains entrance of Saxon Woods. Now, there are 4 different communities that cover Saxon Woods. There's a Harrison entrance on Mamaroneck Avenue that gets you to the hiking trails that also reach parts of the town of Mamaroneck. No formal entrance on the other side, Old White Plains Road, but Mamaroneck Town and Harrison have most of the hiking trails. The Scarsdale portion of Saxon Woods is the golf course, one of our 6 public golf courses, and the White Plains entrance, which is north of the Hutch, very southern tip of White Plains, has a large pool. That will open in a couple of weeks, but right now the miniature golf is off to the right between the pool and Mamaroneck Avenue. It's a fun recreation, and we hope people will enjoy it there at Saxon Woods. That opens today from 12 to 8, and Tibbets Brook Park opens today. And that miniature golf course is in Yonkers, and the Tibbets Brook complex is huge. It's got lots of different working parts to it. There are big open fields, places where you can play different athletic areas. There's a big, large lake that's down there. We also have a swimming pool that will open there in a couple of weeks. And so that's going to open. That is open now. We'll go to 7 o'clock tonight. Social distancing is expected. Mask wearing is expected. This is miniature golf. This is a fun recreation, unless you play it for money, I suppose. Some people must. but hopefully another element of how we're trying to open up recreational opportunities so people have an alternative, something they can do. You can't go to a movie theater right now. That's not a realistic opportunity. As much as I might like to go to Yankee Stadium or Citi Field to see a major league sporting event, baseball game, or now that they're restarting the NHL and the NBA, that's not going to be something you can do. The Belmont Stakes is going to be run this weekend, nobody in the stands. But we try to make some recreational options there. And so along with the bicycle Sundays that we have extended through the summer, the public golf courses, regular golf, 6 golf courses that are open, the hiking trails that have stayed open through the whole period of time, the opportunities that you have now to go to the 2 beaches that are open in Playland and Croton Point Park, the anticipation that we're going to be opening the pools. Now we have miniature golf to go with it, so we hope all of that is intelligent and helpful. Now, we mentioned last week that we were going to be opening some of our day camps, and they would be on a lesser volume standpoint, less people being able to attend. And I am both happy and sorry at the same time to report that many of our day camps have now sold out already. The Muscoot Farm Day Camp, which is a very popular one in Somers at Muscoot Farm, has already sold out. There's a few spots left at the Cranberry Lake Preserve, which is in North Castle, North White Plains. Lenoir Preserve, I alluded to it before, in Yonkers. There's a few spots left there. Marshlands Conservancy in Rye, the Boston Post Road, just above the Mamaroneck border. There's a few spots left. We've opened up Trailside Nature Museum. That's a little bit different. It's a family situation, a little bit different. That's up in Cross River, the town of Lewisboro. But there's just a few spots available to those, and they've gobbled up, which tells you there's a demand for these things. And some of the municipal day camps are also going to be happening as well. We have a hole-in-one junior golf camp at 6 of our golf courses, and all but the Hudson Hills Session 2 is available. They got gobbled up like this. They're 5-day sessions, July 6th through August 14th, and 5 of the courses are sold out, and Hudson Hills has some additional availability. Go onto our website and look at westchestergov.com. Look for recreation. You'll get some information on that. We continue, as we look to the weekend, to mention that we will continue to close on the weekends Croton Gorge Park in the town of Cortland. It remains open during the week, but on the weekends we're very concerned about the demand and the inability to park cars sufficient for the demand, so we've closed it on the weekend, as the state has closed their companion facility there at Croton Gorge. Beautiful place to go to. You'll have to see it during the week right now. We're not comfortable that we can manage the demand. All of our other basic parks are open, absent the pools that will open a little bit later, and of course Playland Amusement Park. Over the next couple of days, we'll reach about a 1-month period between now and when we said it would close to. We'll have an announcement on Playland's fate for this year very shortly, probably first part of next week. And we've gone through a lot of discussion about what we could do. We've tried to analyze what other parks are doing. Could we do it? What kind of a demand we think we would have? Can we have enough people to staff the park? Those are all legitimate administrative issues, and that's why we haven't just decided to open it or close it. It's a much harder place to sanitize and to ensure social distancing if we do open it. And if you've been to Playland, you know immediately what I'm talking about. Kids are there, they have a great time, they get on bumper cars. How do you sanitize the bumper cars between every single use? How do you sanitize the Dragon Coaster or the Dragonator, the new ride we put in last year? We're deeply committed to all of our parks. We want them to be an amenity, part of our quality of life. But again, we're trying to make decisions as we go along in each of these things. The final announcement that I want to make today involves the celebration known as Juneteenth. Juneteenth is a recognition that on June 19th in 1865, there was an announcement in Galveston, Texas, that was made to the African-American community of Texas in that day that the slaves were freed. It was the Emancipation Proclamation that was authored by Abraham Lincoln in 1863. It took the end of the Civil War, which occurred in April of 1865, to officially have the states that were in rebellion give up that rebellion and then have the laws of the United States applied to them again, which freed the slaves. But it took until June for that announcement to reach Texas. In those days, Texas was a much smaller populated state and kind of off the beaten track. Galveston on the coast, the Gulf of Mexico, was the most populated area at the time of the state. And the announcement was made, and it was a great celebration. It was a day of freedom. Jubilee Day was called Freedom Day, Juneteenth. Many of our African American neighbors celebrate Juneteenth as sort of the official day of full freedom from slavery. Now, slavery seems like an ancient concept. For us now, it's 150 years plus since the end of the Civil War. Although there's some debates still going on about who's honored from the Civil War and how that's done. I'll save that for a different forum. But the date carries a great meaning, and of course this year with issues of racial and social justice, it carries an even greater meaning. With that in mind, New York State has taken some action that they've announced, and Westchester County has also announced that we're closing the county government tomorrow. The McCallion office building and all other county office buildings will close in respect to Juneteenth. We believe that there will be an effort to make it a state holiday next year more formally. This is an action we're doing with executive authority. In fairness, we are not at full staff to begin with. We're still operating under lower staff attendance, but we want to make sure that everybody understands that we in Westchester County government want to properly honor and observe the historical significance of this day, and that this is a proper way to do it. We have seen a lot of people in peacetime protest. They want to see change. They want to see things happen that would move forward. And this county government wants to work on those changes and try to create a better, more peaceful, more just society. We do that also, however, supporting those police services that serve us. The men and women of policing here in Westchester County are, in general, good and decent people. And they shouldn't be categorized in a negative light because some individuals have taken some action. But we also know that there is structural racism. There is implicit bias that exists. And so our mission is to try to strike a balance, just like we talked about having a balance in our recreational facilities where we open some and we close some based on whether we can or can't socially distance and protect people from the spread. If we can open it, we do. If we don't think we can, we keep it closed. We, at the same time, both will strive and push hard for changes to the way we operate to ensure greater social justice, racial justice, the types of changes that we may need to have in the way we perform police functions, but at the same time recognizing that the men and women of law enforcement are men and women dedicated by their career path, and the vast majority of them do a wonderful job protecting us and being a first responder. So I hope that balanced message comes through with the same clarity that I'm delivering it in, that we intend to make changes that are necessary and proper, and at the same time we're going to try to keep that which we're doing that is working well and make that balance the way we operate in Westchester. We've had peaceful protests, no looting in Westchester, no rioting in Westchester, to this point. And I compliment all the people that have organized the rallies to this point. They've kept their eye on the prize, which is the change for social justice purposes and not any of the other activities that we have unfortunately seen in other parts of the country. We are not perfect people. We are not masterful managers of government. We're trying to do the best job we can. We're trying to make sure we get through the pandemic. We're trying to make sure we get through this fiscal crisis, and there'll be much more to talk about on that. At the same time that we have the social justice issues, we have a responsibility to build affordable housing. We have a responsibility to make the right steps for the future at the Westchester County Airport. We have the responsibility to get the Beeline bus system not just running on a normal schedule, but functioning in a more efficient way to help move people around. We want a Department of Health, as they have been overworked and put under the gun in this pandemic, to function in all the different ways that they function, and to have, when we can structure it, the right staff to be able to do these tasks. All of these things are necessary because the people that preceded me in this job and those who preceded people in the legislative responsibility built a terrific county in Westchester County. And it's our responsibility to be good stewards of that county, to deliver that county to a better level, and then to turn that county over to whomever comes after us as a stronger and a better county. And that is the place where you've decided to live. That is the place where you decide to work. It's the place I grew up in. It's the place I live in today. I grew up in one of the poorest neighborhoods in this county, and I live at least in a community, if not in a neighborhood, that's one of the wealthiest. And I recognize as an alpha and omega in this county. But with every Mark Samwick who comes before you to talk about Scarsdale, or every Sean Patterson Howard who comes before you to talk about Mount Vernon, Andre Rainey from Peekskill, and Peter Shearer from Pleasantville, and each of these different people, we're still one entity. And that one entity, with all the different diversity that we have, is a strong entity, and we want to make sure it stays strong and that it gets better in the years to come. I'm George Latimer. Thank you for watching. Oh, do we have questions? I'm sorry, I don't want to skip over my friends in the press.
We have one question.
Yes, one question, okay.
From
Sorry.
Martin Wilbur. He would like to know, earlier today, the county executives of Rockland, Putnam, and Dutchess and Orange sent a letter to Governor Cuomo to accelerate the start of Phase 3 to tomorrow, given the good news so far. What's your reaction to that? And did they ask Westchester to be involved?
Well, we weren't invited to join the letter, but that's fine. You know, my colleagues from elsewhere in the region share a political affiliation, so I think perhaps they felt that it was better that they expressed that. The county executive Ulster, as well as myself, are in the other political party. I would like to see us accelerate the opening. I think we have shown the reduction in the spread. The numbers prove it, and over an extended period of time. And if we could open sooner rather than later, that would be a positive. Now, we're sitting here on Thursday. We're scheduled to open to Phase 3 on Tuesday. You know, if the governor chose to open us up sooner, I would be very supportive of it, and we will do everything we can to properly administer the rules as they're structured. I do think that the governor is trying very hard to deal in a very difficult situation. And, you know, the nature of trying to satisfy very different regions in the state that are at different levels of circumstances are there. For us, opening up Westchester further would be helpful. New York City being qualified to open up would help us too, because if 200,000 people in this county go to Manhattan or the Bronx every day to work, and the opening of New York City matters to Westchester as well. But I would be supportive of an earlier opening, but you know, my not being on the letter doesn't mean that we're not all friends. You know, we have our ways of communicating. I'll have mine, they'll have theirs, and we'll all try to get the message through. So with that, I thank you for watching. George Latimer, County Executive. Stay safe, and we'll communicate again. We're going on to a less intense schedule, but we'll be there and communicate as necessary. Thank you. Have a good day.